It is one cold day today. In this video, I have one big old video for you to see, so make sure you watch the entire thing. First of all, I'm going to go through my top 5 Bonsai Pros here in the US that I would love to train with. And to be honest with you, there aren't a ton. There's probably less than 10 on 2 hands that you can count them all on. And then 2, we're going to get some tips from one of those guys on the list about how to grow your bonsai. So look forward to that. 3rd, I've got one of these, maybe several of these. These were sent over from our friends over at Josh Roth Bonsai Tools to give away on this video. So stay tuned till the end, because I'm going to show you exactly how you can get this for free after watching the video. See ya. God, it's cold.
And it's a little tricky at first because you see all of this and you're thinking, well, can I use some of that and so forth.
Just like everybody else, I love going on to YouTube and I love watching some of my favorite guys create bonsai, get some lessons and techniques from them. I mean, I am part of the PSBA. So we're lucky to have bonsai professionals come and go every single season and do their demos, and we pick up something, as far as new information and new techniques, and we learn quite a bit from them and from each other. But how do you filter out the good from the bad, the pros from the amateurs, and what information is valuable and what is not? So YouTube is filled with thousands of videos about bonsai. Some good, some really bad, some in between, and including mine. But I really try to vet out as much of the information as possible before pushing it out to you guys who are watching. So after watching hundreds of hours of videos on YouTube, I've compiled a list of my own as far as some of the guys I would love to train under. Here it is. Okay, so let's start with Boone. Boone is one of the OG bonsai masters. I mean, friends like Tony and some of the guys that have been in the PSBA much longer have trained under Boone, including Michael Hagedorn and several notable others. So he's number 5 on my list. So Michael Hagedorn. He's actually a Boone disciple, an apprentice underneath him. He also went to Japan. So the fact that he's in Portland makes him number 4 on my list for guys I want to train under. He's relatively close. I can get there within 2.5 hours. Not a big deal. Now, naturally, I would love to be able to travel to Japan and, train in Japan. However, there's that language thing, and then most apprenticeships, I believe, go anywhere from 5, 6 to 7 years, depending on the nursery. And as a regular guy, I don't have that kind of time or commitment with 3 little boys, so that's a no-go. Okay, so 3rd is Suthin. He's actually out in the East Coast now. He's won the national show several times in the past, and those accolades alone do make it so that he's on the list for my top 5. So naturally, before Bjorn moved to Japan,
All right, so for the second demonstration that I'm doing,
I wanted to train with Bjorn as well. He was out in Tennessee, but now he's over in Japan. So he's still number 2 on my list because there's potential there to either fly out that way, or he comes back into the States for demos and things like that. And I would love to train with Bjorn. He has a great personality, and he's one of those types I think that I can learn a lot from. Now, there are some notable others out in Europe that I would love to train under, but they're in Europe, a little bit harder to get to and find the time to train with them. Moral being one, David Benavente being the other. They do amazing work, and every time they touch a tree, it's magical. I mean, it's really something to see them turn chicken shit into chicken salad, too, for lack of better words. Okay, so for my number 1, what the heck is this? This is pretty cool. I wonder if I could watch YouTube with this. Hey, this is pretty cool. Hey, is that Peter T? I wonder if I can work on bonsai and watch YouTube at the same time. Let's see. Well, I need some tools. Here's a juniper.
Mom, I think Dad's possessed.
I need to move my workspace. Right there. Maybe we'll watch a little Peter T. Okay, let's go. How about that? I got YouTube on one side, bonsai on the other. Maybe we can start working on this. There is a broken branch. This is super cool. Watching YouTube, working on bonsai, got my gear on. And you can see it's passed through. It's not perfect and kind of losing light here towards the end of the afternoon. It's getting a little bit darker, but I am able to see well enough to actually work on the tree. That is really cool. That is the man right there. This is so cool. I mean, look at my hands. They're virtual hands.
Hey Ben, stop watching YouTube and come on down to California and see the garden for yourself.
For real? You're talking to me? Is this for real? Oh my goodness. Let's look at this. Huh? What? Oh! I got a treat for you guys today. So everybody knows that I love to do garden visits, whether it's one of the club members for the PSBA, BSOP, but today's visit is with a world-class bonsai artist. His name's Peter T.
Hi, my name is Peter T. Welcome to my garden. I'm standing here between two big trident maples that I'm very proud of. This one I started building right after I came back from my apprenticeship in Japan, and this one I started building about the same time for a client of mine, and so I just kind of have them both. But yeah, thanks for coming. If I was to recommend something to somebody that was just getting into the hobby, I mean, a lot of people recommend this, is that it's so important that you look at the trunk of the tree and start there. That you got to be very happy with what you have, because that's the hardest part to change in the tree. Developing bonsai in itself takes a very long time. It's not something that happens overnight or over a couple of years. It could be decades for some trees and certain species. So if you can save yourself some time where you don't have to grow the trunk bigger or try to grow sections of the trunk, growing branches might be much easier. That doesn't take too long, but if you can save yourself that time, I mean, it's invaluable, because after a while you start finding out, well, I don't have that much time to do this growing. So you don't want to get caught on that. I know sometimes new people will buy trees because they're a little bit cheaper, but maybe they're not too happy with it, but it's cheaper. In the long run, trust me, spend a little bit more money, it'll save you so much more time, and time is, I find now, is way more valuable than money. So that would be my number one advice for people. I was actually an auto mechanic for Ford for about 10 years. But while I was doing that, the foreman at the dealership had some bonsai in his office, and I started asking him questions about that. And so he told me more about bonsai, and I decided to join the local club, and it just kind of started from there. At some point early on, I found Boone, that he was in Alameda at the time, and I took some classes from him. And it was always just kind of a hobby at that point. Then I started doing a little bit more on the side to make money for the hobby, and I was thinking, you know, maybe this is something I want to do full time. So we started talking about going to Japan because he went to Japan, and in 2010 I ended up doing that, quitting my job and changing my life, going to Japan for several years to learn this wonderful art form. Share with us maybe your regimen for watering, fertilizer, fungicide, and maintaining the trees, because a lot of people kill trees. I do. It happens to all of us. So some of the maintenance things that I do, just management, right? Practical stuff. Okay, always thinking about, well, how much do these trees need water? When you look at the overall garden, I do section things off to where there's the juniper benches or the maple benches, and their water requirements are a little different. So that helps me just water them a little less or more depending on the species. Watering is important. You don't want to overdo it, but I find that for the most part, most people tend to underwater actually. So I would default to overwatering before underwatering. Fertilizer, you can see on this tree I use BioGold, for example, and I put that on about once a month. The amount that I use, which could be different depending on your environment, is about 5 to 10 pellets every 5 by 5 inch of the topsoil. That's kind of my baseline, and I kind of adjust it there. For insects and fungus issues, I generally spray almost every month for that, especially fungus. Now, a lot of people will say, well, you're in California, and especially in Auburn, the weather is very dry. It's hot and dry. It's not very wet, but we still do get fungus. And the mistakes I see that new people make is that they might spray a few times, everything's okay, and then they start backing off and they hold off on spraying. And it might be okay for a while, and then suddenly big sections of your tree starts dying because you stopped, right? And then you forgot that because you were spraying, say, monthly or every 6 weeks, that's why you weren't having problems. So I would recommend doing that during the growing season, especially. Insects, I tend to kind of wait until I see them and then I spray for them. But there are some trees that can get certain insects like borers in certain seasons that I kind of pre-treat just to make sure I'm not surprised that something dies or something major dies. So that's my schedule. Peter, are you scared of people stealing your tree or something? Or is that an ornament? Yeah. It's not a security device. It's a Govee, which is a product one of my clients recommended me. And what it is it's a temperature sensor that you put around. And what I do is I put them around the garden, and it also detects the humidity, and it logs, and there's an app and all that stuff. And so I've been experimenting with just to get an idea what the temperature is like from one section to the next, especially for this section where it's normally under shade cloth, which is pulled back right now. There is a bit of a temperature and humidity difference from the front of the yard to the back. So it just helps me kind of understand, okay, what kind of temps are the trees getting, and are there some maybe micro adjustments I can do in the watering or the care of the tree based on those temperatures.
All right, Peter, tough question for you here. What's your soil ratios, and what do you use for planting your bonsai trees in?
Okay, so that's always kind of a big question. What kind of soil should we use? And you can see with this Ponderosa, it's a pretty dry aggregate. Generally I use Akadama and pumice. That's kind of my two main things. There's a little bit of lava in this particular soil. But my soil mixture is a little different depending from tree to tree, and this is what I tell people when we get into talking about soil. So I studied in Japan, and they use a lot of Akadama in certain percentages for different types of trees. I use Akadama because I have the most experience using it, and I know how it works with certain trees and how they grow. The reality of soil in bonsai is that you can really use anything you want, okay? Because any soil you use, it's going to hold a certain amount of nutrients, it's going to hold a certain amount of water. Okay. I've seen a lot of people grow trees, even in Japan, where they didn't even use what we would say is bonsai soil. It looks like black dirt. But are they now watering the tree every day like we are? Of course not, right? Because the soil holds so much more water. But they're still getting success in the trees that they're developing. And they're just watering, say, every other day, whereas everybody's watering twice a day because it's hot. The key is just understanding how much water the soil holds, how fast the roots grow because of that, and you can then adjust, well, I want my tree to grow at a certain rate, so I want my roots to grow at a certain rate, and the soil can help with that. Now, the main thing is that whatever soil you decide to use, you have to pay attention to how fast or how slow the tree is growing and adjust your techniques accordingly, okay? Now, I'm not saying that if you use a different soil, you can 100% duplicate, say, a high quality tree. Okay? There are some areas where maybe I can't get this tree this dense because of the soil medium I use, but I don't think we need to worry about that in the US just yet. But for sure, if you decide to use a different soil that holds more water or less, because some people just say, I'm just using pumice, that's easy, right? You just got to know that if you do that and your soil is drier, the tree's going to grow faster and you're going to get a certain structure when you're building it. Okay. And if you want the tree slower, it might not be helping you in that. Okay. And so does that change? Well, what are your goals? What do you want the tree to really look like? If you want the tree to always look strong, have a little thicker branches, then 100% pumice might be what works for you. Or maybe you're just like a habitual overwaterer, right? And that's how it has to be. And so I'm not saying anybody has to use this soil mixture, but yeah, people get into arguments, but the truth really is, it's really about how much water, how much nutrients they hold, and how you're watering it. Because it's all about rate of growth in bonsai. I need this tree to grow at this certain rate so I can get it to look like this at some point. And are you moving in that direction? And if not, then I'll change the soil. But my medium changes ratio-wise, because the Akadama will change from some trees I'll put 30%. This guy's in a big box, it's gonna hold tons of water, it doesn't need a ton of water. So I'll use like 30% Akadama. And the rest is pumice lava, which doesn't hold as much water. When I get into deciduous trees, then I start bumping it up to 50, 70% because they do like a lot more water. But if I want them to grow slower, I might even bump it to 100. Now they start slowing down a little bit, and that could be helpful if you want them to grow slower, especially Japanese maples where you want shorter internodes. That could be part of your overall game plan, right? It's not the only piece, but it's definitely an important piece in your strategy.
Hey Ben, wake up! Come on Ben, wake up! Wake up!
Dad,
Wake up! Wake up!
Dad, wake up! You've been sleeping for 5 hours!
Okay, so how did I come up with my list? Now, that list isn't based on, whether or not they have a big presence on YouTube. Really, it's based on some of the accolades that they had, how I see their personality fit mine. So this is very personal to me, might not be to you, but, and whether or not they're in the US. So the feasibility of actually training with these guys. And so not everybody's personalities will fit each other. And I picked Peter T because he hit a lot of those check marks and he has the accolades that prove it. And by just looking at some of the trees in his garden, you could tell that he really knows what he's doing. So as far as the last expo, he had 6 out of 8 awards that were trees that he worked on, whether it was his or his clients. And then a few from the last expo as well. So that speaks volumes as to why he made my #1 bonsai artist that I would love to train with. Okay, so let's talk about these Josh Roth tools right here. They were kind enough to send me a handful of these tools to give away for the video, like I said before. Now, if you paid attention, you would have seen a QR code somewhere in the video that's going to lead you to the instructions about how to get one of these for absolutely nothing. These are high quality tools that are made in Japan. Now, they don't sell these direct to customers, but they do sell them through resellers. And the Josh Roth tools are super high quality. Now, they're different tools for different budgets, and they're made out of carbon steel and stay sharp for much longer than your average steel type of bonsai tools. I've already tried this out and it cuts through everything. I'm actually kind of scared. I'm kind of scared to do a couple tricks with this for the video because I don't want to cut myself because they're that sharp. Anyhow, I appreciate you guys tuning in for this video, and I looked it up. I am almost about 10 years on YouTube making videos, and so I've done a lot to invest in the channel, and so I hope that you do the same for me. I want to put out quality videos. I hope to win your subscription, and my new goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers. And so with this giveaway, you're going to help me try to reach that goal. So, well, I do have a membership that you can join for different tiers. You can get discounts through the store, previews on certain videos, and be able to reach out to me if you have any questions on your bonsai. And I want to thank my very first member. His name is David Dendler. Guess what? You are the new owner of this Josh Roth bonsai scissor. So reach out to me, send me your information. I'm going to ship this out to you as a thank you for being my very first member to the channel. Okay, so before I freeze my booty off out here, I also want to thank Peter T. You've been a very good sport in helping me create this video, and a couple others actually, and as well as John Kim from Josh Roth Tools. Appreciate you reaching out, and giving me some of these tools to give out to the community members of the channel, and everybody that helped to get this video done, including Nolan and even Luke. So see you guys next time. I know this video is really unusual. It's not how it's always going to be, but I wanted to make something special for you guys. Just kind of change things up a little bit. So please like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that, yada, yada, yada. I'll see you next time. Bye.
To the city streets, we began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young and it's just beginning.